Welcome back to Freeman, and well, the game has just been released. It was released a couple of days ago, actually, and I was quite surprised, I gotta say. And I know there's a lot of, well, somewhat drama surrounding the whole release because a lot of people think that the game is not ready to be upgraded to that full release tag sort of thing, you know? They think it should stay in early access for a little bit longer just to get that last little bit done and polished and all that sort of thing. And I'm not sure really what to think about it, because on the one hand, I absolutely think that these developers are really good. I think that they have done a fantastic job with the game so far, and I'm just wondering what's going to happen. What's going to happen? Because they have said that they are going to be doing more, sort of bug fixing and polishing, and I think they did mention that they're going to be implementing a Steam workshop, which would be amazing for mods and things like that to be able to install them with ease. But well, I don't know. I think on the one hand, I would like to see some additional things from the developers themselves, but that is literally that's just me. Maybe the modding community will add those things that I am looking for. But the thing is that the game is really enjoyable, or was really enjoyable in 0.96, which is literally just a version or two back. And I'm not entirely sure what has happened, but it appears to me that the experience gain is vastly reduced for your own units, and I'm not entirely sure why that is, because in 0.96 experience gain was maybe a little bit speedy. Yeah, you know, I think it was quite easy to level up your forces from like level 1 to level 5 or 6 or something like that. And bear in mind that each unit has a maximum level of 15. So it's going to take them a long time to do that. And of course, the main reason why it's quick is also because your main hard cap that you're going to have with leveling up units is going to be your money. Your money situation is never going to be enough to be able to level up someone from 1 to 15 at such an early stage in the game. And as we go forward in the game, of course, that's going to gain a reduced amount of time. You know, basically, you're going to be able to, you're pretty easily going to be able to, afford these upgrades and things like that. So there's not really anything really to worry about from a money standpoint later on. So I'm not entirely sure why they might have changed the amount of experience that is gained by your units. I don't know. I don't know whether that's even happened really, because I don't think it was mentioned in the changelog or anything like that. But that's basically the only thing, with the exception of the AI, that is kind of giving me a slight pause for concern. Mainly because, as I say, I'm not someone that really loves grinding away. It really depends on the game, of course. I don't mind, grinding in some games like MMORPGs or, whatever, because I grew up on all those grindy MMOs and things, and I don't mind that. I think that's okay, because if it's part of the game, then it's part of the game. But I don't really want to be grinding in games like Mount and Blade and games like Freeman, that sort of thing. I don't want to be grinding 10 battles to, level up one squad of guys, you know what I mean? To get them to like level 5 or whatever the case may be. And in general, that's not really happening, I think, because I've been doing quite a few battles off screen to kind of give myself a little bit more of an idea as to what's going on, because, as I say, haven't really had any confirmation through the changelog or through anything like that that the experience gain has even been changed. Maybe it is literally just my imagination, but I have received a couple of comments from people that have stated that their experience is relatively similar to mine. In other words, it's more difficult to level up units in this version of Freeman, and I'm kind of surprised because I wouldn't have expected that to be something that the developers would change. I just don't know why they would do that. It doesn't seem like something that needed to be changed, if at all. I personally didn't feel like that needed to be modified in any way. But who knows? That's the point. I don't even know whether they have done it, and it could just literally be my imagination. So I'm not going to jump to conclusions or anything like that. I'm just going to say that it feels as though leveling units is a little bit slower in this version, and I'm not entirely sure why. But that's neither here nor there, really, because if it does take a little bit of extra time and maybe takes 1 or 2 extra battles to get a level up for your guy, then it is kind of that is kind of annoying on one hand. But I think the more pressing issue is the problem that I was facing earlier on in this very series, where we were taking a skirmish, we were going up against some looters or a desert bandit party or whoever, and we would come up against this situation which I feel was extremely perplexing, and I would not have expected that to happen at any point, really. I would not have expected this kind of thing to happen, and that situation was basically one where my units would be walking right by the side of the enemy, and they would not see them, if you know what I mean. They would see them, but they wouldn't actually shoot at them. So that was a big problem. But you can see that it appears that has been fixed. So that doesn't seem to be a big deal anymore, at the very least, because that was one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, of the new version, where the AI would just not shoot at the enemy. Because, I mean, let's face it, this is a warfare game, and you are certainly not... Can I go up here? They added the ability to go up ladders? I didn't even know this. Okay, well, that's amazing in itself. I mean, I know it's such a simple function, but they did not have this before. They did not have the ability to climb ladders before in the earlier versions. So that is actually really cool, because now I can see everything from up here. Very nice indeed. Okay, well, that's... I'll give them that. That's a cool thing. And now here's the thing. I've been a great supporter of the developers. Ooh, as I almost kill myself. Anyway, yeah, I've been a great supporter of Freeman and the developer team in general for the entire time, really, that they've been developing it. Because, I mean, this game is basically... It basically incorporates everything that I really like about gaming, basically. You may not think it, but I do like the occasional shooter. I like to play some FPS or even third-person shooters, something like that. And there, so you got the shooting, and then you've got the RPG elements. You've got the ability to level up your character, spend skill points, attribute points, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, you have the classic Mount and Blade formula, where you recruit units and you level them up. But unlike Mount and Blade, you do have the ability to customize your unit's gear. And I think that is a very, very big strength of Freeman. I think it really is one of the biggest strengths that it has. And I'm glad to see that is still in the game, of course. Oh yeah, by the way, we already know where our enemies are, so I should probably just clear all the waypoints and just tell all my guys to run at them, because let's face it, they are just bandits and raiders and things like that, so they are very, very low level. But I thought I would start the episode off with this looter camp, because I kind of wanted to illustrate that the AI seems to be fixed, and I wanted a little bit of time to talk about the various bits of drama that are currently going on, because the Steam store page for Freeman is currently being I wouldn't say review bombed, but it kind of is a little bit with negativity. And I kind of wanted to give my 2 cents about the whole thing, really, because, as I say, if the issue with the AI had not been fixed, then I would probably be like, okay, yeah, I can see why people would be upset about that, because it basically makes the game almost unplayable. Because you're running around, you've got your guys helping you out, but they're not actually helping you out, and that's the whole point. Usually, these guys that you have with you are going to be your lifeline. They're going to be the reason why you actually win battles. Solely, there are some times where you yourself, as the player, will be able to win battles by just sheer skill alone, just by yourself with a sniper rifle, like I'm doing right now, shooting at the enemy, and attempting to eliminate them as quickly as possible. And yeah, there are some times that you can do that, but for the most part, to take a big town, you're going to need some reinforcements. You're going to need your comrades by your side trying to help you, and indeed you helping them in return to conquer territory. And now that the AI issue seems to be fixed, I don't think that's too bad. But most of the majority of reviews that are currently going on, because there are positive reviews as well, it is not just solely negative, but it has gone from being very positive recently to being mixed. And I'm quite surprised. I mean, yeah, okay, you know, I can understand why people might be upset because, again, it is going into full version with, well, maybe some issues, you know, maybe some issues that still need to be resolved. And that's the thing. I'm not entirely sure which issues we're talking about here, with the exception of bug fixes that I may not run into. I mean, bugs that I may not run into, you know? That kind of thing. Because you can see here, my armed bodyguards are doing a fantastic job. They are shooting at the enemy. Most of my units are shooting at the enemy. And this is a nighttime battle. Bear that in mind. These guys that I have with me right here, they do not have night vision. And that's the point. I personally feel like they should not need night vision to be able to shoot at enemies, because they are AI. I know if you want to go for realism, then the enemy is going to have to not be able to fire at us either in a nighttime situation unless we are right by them. And I think that's the realism, you know, point that I'm trying to make here. It has to be the same situation for both sides. Otherwise, it's not realistic, you know, because if you're going up against some looters, going up against some terrorists or whoever, then they have to have night vision goggles as well. Otherwise, it's just not fair. It's just, you know, unfair towards the player, and it makes it all imbalanced. So that's the reason why the AI not shooting because of their lack of night vision goggles or something was a little bit iffy to me. But the point is that most of the reviews are just literally because the game maybe needs some more time. It maybe needs some more time in early access. And I can wholeheartedly say that, yeah, I think it probably does need some more time. But as it stands right now, this current version of Freeman, I think is very enjoyable. I think it's enjoyable personally. The one thing that I would say that is, as I say, not the most enjoyable is the fact that people do take quite a bit of time to level up. You can see here, this guy is currently level 6, level 6, level 5, level 5. And now bear in mind that I have been doing a very, very large amount of battling. I have been fighting and fighting and fighting, and I have probably done 2 bandit camps, and I'm talking about pretty high level bandit camps as well. I think I did 1 desert bandit camp, which was just sheer luck that I actually was able to do that. And oh yeah, by the way, I have named a whole bunch of other dogs here, because we have a couple of other dogs that were left in the comment section. I thought, hey, you know what? We're just going to add them as well. And I think that that's basically all I'm going to be adding for the moment, because these guys are, well, I barely have enough units to be able to fill them all out. So we'll see if there's going to be any more added. But yeah, you should see on the screen as well that the comments that were left about these names, so you can see all those people. Anyway, yeah. So as I say, I think it could definitely use a little bit of extra time in early access. And here's the thing: I really don't have a problem with the developers not adding vehicles. I know a lot of people were kind of annoyed about that. Personally, I'm not entirely sure why you would be annoyed about, you know, not the game not having vehicles, considering it is this kind of game. It's not a war simulator in any respect. It is much more a case of small skirmishes between infantry and you know, and stuff like that. And I can understand if people want to have vehicles and all that. Then there are other games that have vehicles. You know, you can play Arma or something else. You know, Battlefield, even to a lesser extent, on the simulation side of things, has vehicles. So there are other things out there that you can play that, you know, has the vehicle element. But I understand if you want to have that RPG the Mount and Blade-esque kind of thing with vehicles, then yeah, I can understand why you'd be disappointed. But the main point that I'm trying to say here is basically I did not really enjoy the vehicle update, and I think the developers kind of also thought to themselves, hey, you know what, this just doesn't feel right, you know, it just doesn't feel right for their vision of the game. And I can wholeheartedly understand that, because it literally made everything much more centered around just the vehicles. And it made the vehicles basically the only thing that you would really want to go for here. And I'm actually going to try and see what I can do. Wait, is that it? That's Olga. Okay, never mind. I don't need to worry about her. But yeah, anyway, it just made everything much more centered on the vehicles, and it was just, I don't know. I would definitely say that if you think maybe like a, I don't know, like a truck of some kind that has like a machine gun on the back or something like that, you know, that kind of thing, yeah, sure, I can kind of see that in the game. But for the most part, I would definitely say that I feel like it's a much more enjoyable game without vehicles. I mean, yeah, maybe there could be some non-combat vehicles, because I think they did add in like supply trucks and stuff that you could have, and that kind of increased your speed on the world map as you were walking around. And I think that it was actually a pretty cool system, I gotta say. I actually like that quite a bit, but I understand why they removed them, because it was just very difficult to make those things work, with the exception of the non-combat vehicles. I think the non-combat vehicles probably could have stayed, but who am I to say? I mean, I'm not the developer, so I really don't know what they're thinking or anything, but I can just say that I did not particularly enjoy the vehicle update. I thought it was cool to see that kind of stuff in the game, but I was not like dying to basically, you know, have the vehicles in the game so badly that I would give it a bad review or something like that. You know, that's just not, I don't really find that kind of thing to be that big a deal, but there are some people that do, so, you know, that's perfectly fine. That's up to them. But otherwise, what else is there? What else is there that we can talk about here? Well, I mean, they've come such a long way. I mean, you know that they actually did update the game launcher. So like when you launch the game, there's two different options. You can play the very first version that they uploaded to early access, and I remember playing this version. I remember playing this version way back. This is the version without companions. There were no generals in the game. There were very limited systems in place. There was no faction money, no nothing like that. There were no buildings that you could construct. There was literally nothing. It was very bare bones, you know? It was very, very bare bones, and you could basically just get into the game. You could recruit a squad, and you could only recruit a full squad or like a half a squad or something like that. You couldn't recruit individual units or anything like that. And at the time, I thought, hey, you know what? This seems kind of weird, you know? When they changed that whole recruiting system, because they changed the recruiting system from being something where you recruit squads and then you replenish those squads by using money or using some other resource. And they changed that to being more like an XCOM kind of feel, where each individual unit had their own gear and their own customization and things like that. And I thought that was actually a really cool thing, because it does, as I say, give you that little bit of extra attachment to your people, you know, to your guys, and you kind of think to yourself, yeah, these guys are mine, you know, they're my comrades, they're my soldiers, and I'm leading them into battle. And it kind of gives you that extra little bit of a feeling there. So that's a cool thing about it. And it really has come a very far distance, because, as I say, it was very bare bones. You know, there wasn't much, with the exception of the. I mean, you can go back actually. You can go back and watch my videos if you're interested, because I have like playlists going all the way back. You know, in every single version of the game, basically, and so it's kind of like a documentary of the progress of the game, pretty much. And I tend to explore all of the various facets of each version. And you know me, you know how I do things. But yeah, anyway, this is my new weapon, by the way. I don't know whether you noticed that I have this, but yeah, I just bought a 4x zoom, and I'm hopeful that I will be able to use it with good effectiveness, because I have 100 in machine gun. And I know I did say that I was going to use a machine gun in an upcoming series, and I thought, hey, you know what, let's just do it in this one, because it seems pretty fun. And I have a sniper rifle, so I might as well use a machine gun as well, and see how it goes. But yeah, as I say, first version, very bare bones, very, very much just go and get your squads, go into a battle, fight, get some loot, and so on and so forth. And it's gone through so many different changes. The economy itself of the game has changed so many different times, because in one version I remember that literally selling things would give you not much at all, and then in the next one it would give you a huge amount, and so on and so forth. And I think they've got a really good balance with this current version. I really think they have done a pretty good job with that, because you can trade. You've got trading. I don't believe you had trading in the very first version either, so that's also something to consider. And they also make it very doable to fight and actually make money without having sort of a bankruptcy risk, or really, really quickly, because in the previous versions it was pretty harsh. The wages were quite harsh. You would run out of cash quite fast, and it would be very difficult to get into a situation where you would be able to make a good amount of cash and be able to build up your army fast enough to be able to start taking over towns and things like that. So definitely come a long way in that regard as well. The graphics and the graphical fidelity of the game also underwent an overhaul, and that took them a long time to increase that stuff, and it was just very much a great improvement over the previous, because the previous was kind of like, standard sort of, shooter, in Unity, sort of thing. And I really didn't mind that. I thought that was fine, I didn't have any qualms about it, because I liked the gameplay in general. I liked the fact that you could run around, create your own army, and so on and so forth, and that you'd have a fun time doing that. And that's the point. You don't really have to worry about, the graphical fidelity if the gameplay's fun, or at least in my opinion. I don't really mind so much about the graphics being less good or whatever, because some of the best games I've ever played are pixel games. Hotline Miami, for example, is a game that is exceptional in my mind, and that is a pixel-based game, sprite-based game, and it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And so my, graphical fidelity for me is not exactly something I really care about that much. I much more prefer, gameplay that is enjoyable and exciting and addictive, and, all of these wonderful things that gets you really engrossed in the game as a whole. And Freeman, in my opinion, at least if the experience gain has not been changed, Freeman definitely does that, in my opinion. I think that it definitely has that kind of factor, because you're kind of like, yeah, I'd like to see what I can do against this force. I'd like to see if I can build a force of X unit, and I'd like to see if I can make general peace with every single faction in the game and see if I can win that way. There are a wide variety of different ways that you can play the game, and I have been playing the game ever since it released into early access, and it literally is it's literally crazy how many different builds I have attempted to accomplish with here, because there were standard assault rifle kind of builds where I would basically play with, I don't know, just a standard assault rifle. Really, I can't remember the name of it way back in the first early version, but it was just a standard assault rifle kind of thing, like an M4, M16 or something like that. And then as time went on, I thought to myself, okay, well, what else can I do here? Can I play with something else? Can I play with a machine gun? Can I play with a sniper rifle? Can I play with any of these things? And yes, the answer was yes, you can. you can play with all of those things and you can have a grand old time while doing it. And that really made a huge difference to the replayability of the game. It made a difference to the enjoyment of the game because I felt like I was able to have a unique, diverse character build available. And yeah, okay, you know, there are times when these character builds are going to be more effective and less effective than the rest. So, you know, I'm talking about if you look at let me just level these guys up, actually. How many times do you think these guys are going to have leveled? Once? Twice? Just once. Yeah, I think that's actually okay. I think that them leveling up like that is okay. I mean, what's funny is that this guy didn't level up, but this one did, and he's level 4, and he's level 5 now. Oh well, I'm not entirely sure whether it has changed, but one thing I am sure of is that I don't have that much money to level them up. But maybe it's just a little bit better in terms of its scaling now, the experience gain. That might very well be the case. But anyway, we're just going to give our people some better armor. There we go. That's basically it. And we're now going to be putting some people in Apollo squad and level those guys up a little bit. And we will auto-equip them. There we go. They all have a couple of pieces of stuff. And we've actually equipped everyone. Look at that. That's really nice. Look at that. Nothing going to waste, which is very nice. So I'm going to go for 80 armor right here. And then we're going to go for some throwing or something like that. And some intelligence, because I'd like to get some first aid, trading, diplomacy, and things. Now, here's the thing. I was talking about character builds just now. And I think that, I mean, in general, the game has come very, very far because the first version literally only had 3 different attribute points, and I believe marksmanship was not an attribute point, and instead it was a skill, and so you had to spend skill points to be able to level up your marksmanship, and I think I don't think you needed intelligence or anything like that to be able to level up marksmanship, or maybe you did. I can't really remember now, but it was a long time ago. But if you want to play the first version and you own the game, then you can very easily do that because they have it available. So yeah, anyway, the point is that the builds that you could do were not really limited. Not really limited. You could basically do whatever you wanted. You know, if you want to use an SMG, use an SMG. You know, you can do that. Of course, it did become a lot easier to use an SMG when they introduced the camouflage system, and I think they did have the camouflage system in from a pretty early stage. It just didn't really work at first, but then it started to work quite nicely from then on, and I thought that was really cool, you know, because let's face it, being able to sneak around, being able to see all these various things, be sneaking around and, try and sneak up on this guy and shoot him. And, that actually did end up working quite well. And I thought that was really cool, That was a really, really fun thing for us to experience. And even though, there we go. Oh, look at this. Awesome. Okay, so we now have a village plundering mission for Finn. So I actually have to do that to be able to get him, I guess? He actually has a quest for him to be able to join us? Okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah, so that's also a new feature that they have added into the game. So I will now need to plunder villages, which I am probably not going to do right now. I'm probably going to try and take a couple of towns first before I end up doing that, because let's face it, I don't really want to get murdered by an extremely powerful party of someone. And instead, where am I going to go? I think I'm going to go actually back over here. Okay, yeah, sure. You can just take that guy back. But yeah. Anyway, if you wanted to play with an SMG with camouflage, as the versions rolled on, then you could very easily do that if you wanted to. And you could equip a silencer and you could just sneak around, and it was a lot of fun. And I decided, hey, I'm going to play a close combat build, and I actually started using melee. I actually used melee weapons, and I believe they have actually removed melee, haven't they? Yes, they did actually remove melee. I didn't even notice that, to be honest, hilariously enough, because I was a big fan of the melee build that I created, because it was literally you could just run around basically and, well, have a grand old time, you know, bashing people on the head and things like that. Of course, now here's the big problem with playing melee. You're gonna just die, like, instantly. If someone sees you, you're gonna just die instantly. But the AI at that time was much more, shall we just say, oblivious to your current location. So you could sneak around them. You could kind of give them a bit of a chase, if you know what I mean. And it would definitely make things much easier to play that kind of build. And I had at the time, and indeed still do, started suggesting various changes to close combat builds, which would indeed help matters entirely. And I'm talking about things like being able to add the dodge mechanic. And I know a lot of people were, you know, not really saying that the dodge mechanic would be that viable, because you're going to then have the AI also have the dodge. But I said at the time, hey, it's probably not going to be a good idea to have the AI have the dodging mechanics, so why not just make it a player-only skill, you know? So in theory, you could then have a 25% or maybe even a 50%, I think that's a bit much, so maybe 35% maximum or something like that, chance to dodge. You know, dodge incoming fire, because let's say while sprinting, so let's say that when you sprint, because you have a good amount of agility, because agility gives you stamina in this game, and you're going to be able to sprint for a lot longer, let's say when you're sprinting, you have a percentage dodge chance, which is just a flat percentage dodge to be able to avoid damage. And that kind of thing definitely would have added a whole wide realm of possibilities for other build choices. Because as it stands right now, we have, you know, we still have a pretty wide variety of different build options. You know, you can play with basically whatever you want. As I have demonstrated, we're playing with a sniper rifle and a machine gun, and in my previous series, I was playing with an assault rifle and a sniper rifle. And in previous efforts, I did attempt to play with a shotgun, but shotguns are quite hard to play with. I mean, come on, let's be honest. That they're gonna be quite hard to play with if you don't have a good amount of survivability. And even survivability that I'm talking about right now, and I'm talking about survivability like having a full piece of body armor, having a Spetsnaz helmet, having the maximum amount of constitution. And I'm talking about having like 300 HP here, you know, because having 15 constitution gives you so much HP. It's just really crazy. But as soon as your armor goes down, as soon as it's gone, you are just as fragile as you ever were, basically, because armor is really the king in this game. And if you don't have armor, you're really done. You're really done. So you're just gonna die very quickly. But that's the point. If you don't have any other kind of survivability mechanic, and I'm talking about the dodge here, then shotguns are, well, they're not that viable, which is quite disappointing to me, because I actually think that playing with shotguns is really fun. There are a lot of games which make shotguns feel really fun as well, but unfortunately, Freeman, even though the shotgun is actually fun to use, and I'm saying it's fun to use, it's fun to shoot with, you know, it's fun to shoot with, it's fun to get kills with, and stuff like that. But the main issue with it is that you're gonna die. You're gonna die as soon as you try to get any kind of distance closed on the enemy. You can see here I am already losing HP, well, not HP, but I'm losing armor already just from me being at the front line here and being in crouched or prone position, basically, which is just insane. I think that is crazy, because, I mean, let's face it, you're getting shot, you know? You're getting shot by enemies. You are going to want to make sure that you stay alive as much as possible, because you want to get experience. You want to make sure that your forces also stay alive. And as I say, if you end up dying because you've run in there with a shotgun, which I'm more than likely to do, let's face it, I am very much someone that likes running in where everyone else fears to tread because they're not stupid and I am. So, you know, I like to do that because I think it's fun. You know, I think it's fun to do those kinds of things. But the problem again is that I'm not going to be able to use a shotgun, you know? But do I really care? Do I really care? Does that diminish my enjoyment of the game as a whole? No, not really. No, I really don't mind about not being able to use a shotgun. There might be some people that will mind much more than I do. You know, I'm pretty laid back when it comes to those kinds of things. You know, I'm not too fussed about what kind of weapon I'm using or what kind of units I'm using. Maybe in the case of, you know, I mean, maybe except in the case of Warband or something like that, because, you know, in general I kind of have my favorites, but doesn't everyone? You know, everyone has their favorites when it comes to, you know, what kind of unit you want to use or what kind of army composition you want to have, that kind of thing. But what I'm saying is the fact that vehicles and not being able to use shotguns or melee going to diminish my enjoyment of playing this game? And I'm going to say no, absolutely not. I don't see why it would, really, because it still has the same core gameplay loop that you are expecting from the earlier versions. It still has you start off having literally nothing, and you start advancing, you start leveling up, you start gaining experience, and you start taking over the world, basically. You start conquering the entire map. And it still has all of that. It still has everything that you want from the game. And yeah, okay, you know, they said that they might add in vehicles again and then they change their minds, and that's absolutely fine in my opinion, because let's face it, if they don't feel that they can implement them in a balanced fashion, then I'd rather not have them, because as I said before, I feel like the vehicles really imbalanced the game in a bad way. I think they were fun. Don't get me wrong, I think they were fun, but they were certainly a bit challenging to work with and to work against. Because I remember going into a battle and I was having a bit of trouble with it. I was going into a battle and I thought, okay, I'm gonna get a whole bunch of vehicles for this episode. And this was me in off-screen progression. This was my thought process regarding that whole thing. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to get a whole bunch of vehicles and I'm going to try to demonstrate, you know, each and every vehicle type, and I'm going to show all the stats, and I'm, you know, how I usually do in these kinds of situations where I'm wanting to, you know, show a particular feature from a game update or a mod or, you know, whatever the case may be. And so I went off and I got all these vehicles. They were very expensive because of course they should be. And then I thought to myself, wow, this is one of the most powerful armies that you could ever have in this game, and why would you ever use infantry ever again? That's the kind of thing that I started thinking, because that's exactly how it is. You know, or how it was, shall we say, with the vehicles. Because you had the vehicles and you basically didn't need anything else, because you'd be able to throw those vehicles into the fire and they would basically, well, they wouldn't kill everything, but they would do a lot of damage. And in the end, I would prefer to use infantry. I don't know. That's just my preference. I just prefer to use infantry in these kinds of situations. It just makes it much more personable. It makes me think, hey, you know what? This vehicle's not going to be able to get up this particular cliff face, or, you know, it's not going to be able to navigate into the buildings, because it did have some pathing issues as well. The vehicles had pathing issues because they were very large and difficult to maneuver. And the AI, because the AI is going to be the one driving it, I'm not the one driving it, and because the AI did not have the best time. It really did not have the best time dealing with the whole vehicle thing. So, as I say, would vehicles increase my enjoyment? No, not really. You know, I think that the whole gameplay loop, as I've already said, is already solid enough to basically be like, yeah, you know, I like this. I enjoy this. I like the whole warband formula. It is, of course, a Mount and Blade formula. That's just how it is, But that doesn't mean that other games can't also borrow from it. It doesn't mean that other games can't borrow a formula from StarCraft or from Call of Duty. I mean, Call of Duty is fierce rivals with Battlefield, and they both have different things that they do. And of course, Freeman does things very differently from Mount and Blade. It may very well have the same kind of skeleton, but the flesh of the beast is quite different. And hopefully you can see that as well. And wow, I'm actually kind of surprised we did that. That was pretty cool. I was just talking away and I was just like, oh, we seem to be winning. That's nice. Anyway, we did manage to capture something here, which is actually kind of cool, because that means that I will be able to head onward here. I'm actually not going to be taking anything right now because I barely have any space. So I am just going to leave everything, I think. And we'll just imprison all those guys. Yeah, but anyway, I personally... Oh, look at this. Oh yeah, that's the thing that they give us. Okay, yeah. When you declare independence, all forces will react, support, or oppose it. Yeah, we can declare independence. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And I guess I'm going to choose the Jolly Roger. Why not? Let's do that. That's pretty amusing. I actually have no idea what I'm going to call myself right now. I guess it has to be something dog related, so I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. So like Doggo Nation or something like that? I have no idea. Let's just go for Doggo Nation. There we go. I really wish this kitten was a dog now, actually. I wish that was a puppy, or I wish there was another thing that was literally a puppy, because that would make the most sense right now, wouldn't it? So I guess we'll just go with this. Why not? There you go. Okay, so everyone hates us right now, as you can see. Well, actually, no. Some people hate us, but some people don't. So you can see here the Chinivkan Front, of course, hate us. The Brotherhood does as well, because that's always what they're like. And the Valkyries and the Pozna are just neutral. And otherwise, the Atel Federation are actually neutral with us, as well as the FCA, which is pretty cool. So I'm pretty happy with that. Otherwise, let's go into the bar. And this guy, he can join me now, can't he? Yep, there we go. Nice. All right. That's exactly what I want to see. All right, so we still can't get Finn, can we? No, we need to plunder 5 villages for him to be able to join us, but that's all right. I really don't mind about that too much. This guy's going to be joining Mushi Squad, and we'll get him kitted out in some things. Let's level up these fellows as well. And there we have it. Yeah, so I hope that you have enjoyed listening to my thoughts on the whole drama surrounding the Freeman game in general, because personally I feel like, yeah, okay, so these are my final thoughts basically on it. It could definitely use a little bit of extra time, but I'm not entirely sure what could be added, with the exception of the things that I've already talked about. Maybe some... I mean, here's the thing. I know a lot of people were also wanting to have increased diplomatic options, and I don't know how they would be able to implement those. I mean, there's a wide variety of different ways to go about it. So maybe more diplomatic options to play with a less aggressive style. But the thing is does it matter? I mean, you kind of want to attack things, don't you? You kind of want to attack things because that's the core gameplay loop of the whole thing. But I can still see why diplomacy would be quite important. But other than that, non-combat vehicles, they could add that. I mean, maybe. I don't see why that would make that much difference to the whole gameplay thing, though, because in general, the gameplay is solid, as I've said. And then otherwise, they could add some more skills. Yeah, they could definitely add some more skills. As I've said in the previous version, and the previous series of that version, we always end up with an overabundance of skill points, like an insane amount of skill points. And I personally feel like you could use probably like 3-4 more categories of skills. And I just don't know what kind of skills, with the exception of dodge and maybe some other things that maybe increase reload speed, or maybe, maybe some fun stuff like I don't know, something not realistic, but then people would complain about it not being realistic, I suppose. So probably not that, but I'm just brainstorming randomly here. So yeah, anyway, the point is that I think you should definitely give Freeman a go if you are still wondering about whether you should buy it. You could literally buy it, play it a little bit, so just play it for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you could refund it if you don't like it. And that's it, you know, that's the reason why there's a refund system. So you could theoretically do that if you wanted to, just to try it out and see whether you like it. But if you like Mount and Blade, you're probably going to like this. That's basically what I'm going to say about it, because it is pretty much the same kind of style of game, but it just adds a whole bunch of different things that Mount and Blade doesn't have. And it's got that kind of, you know, as I say, it's kind of like an offshoot from the mother tree, suffice it to say, you know, for the mother tree of Mount and Blade, and it's got that kind of start at level 1, you know, get a whole bunch of people, and then just level those guys up. But it has a whole bunch of other things too, you know. It has a lot of other ideas incorporated within it, even though it may very well look like it's very heavily Mount and Blade. They do have a wide variety of different things that are not. And so, yeah, anyway, I think that's going to be it for this episode. It's more a podcast episode, isn't it? Yes, absolutely more of a podcast episode than a normal one. But I hope you have enjoyed my ramblings, I suppose you could say. And in the next episode, we're probably going to be attempting to take Arbor, if I can. It is much more heavily defended than Zinkov was, but what I am going to do is I'm probably going to make... where's Yevgen? Yevgen is here. Yeah, I'm probably going to make Yevgen into... he's level 7. Yeah, I'm probably going to make him into a Maya or something like that, so I'm probably going to level up his tactics right now and get him a little bit more financial. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make him a Maya right now, because then he can start using our faction money to recruit a garrison, and that is going to allow us to run around without fear that a very small band of bandits is going to try and take this back instantly. So yeah, hopefully that's going to work out quite nicely. Otherwise, if you would like to check out the game, there is a link in the description. I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.